Before sunrise, Burn Dairy and Deli is preparing to fuel your day with hot coffee, donuts, muffins, breakfast sandwiches, and other morning staples. For lunch, grab a giant deli sandwich made the way you like it. Pizza, wings, wraps, or a fresh salad. Plus, something to wash it down. Then pick up dinner or a sweet treat and other pantry essentials. Now you can get your Burn Dairy and Deli favorites delivered with DoorDash. All day, every day, you can count on Burn Dairy and Deli. It's all good.
Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
All right, let's get it rolling here. It's the ML Sports Platter, all brought to you by our great friends over at Welch & Company Jewelers, the Allen Angus Pub, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and Prestwick Golf. If you're in and around Central New York, go ahead and get those golf clubs re-gripped. Court Street, unbelievable products as well. New and used clubs from the best brands in golf, Callaway, Ping, TaylorMade, Titleist. You name it, Ed and his staff do a great job, and I go get my golf clubs re-gripped each and every single season at Prestwick Golf, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. A big tip of the cap thank you as well to Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare, the Swan and Whitaker families, and the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group for their support of the platform as well. Well, we are 6 weeks in the books in the NFL season, and it seems like every week goes faster than the last. And so this is my Week 6 NFL recap, going all the way back to last Thursday. By the way, at the back end of this, you're going to hear my crossover Titans-Bills recap. I'm just going to throw that episode in a crossover here from Bills Brawl. So that'll be just a total focus on that one game. It's about a 30-minute recap. So you'll get that after all of these games, which I'm going to rip through pretty quickly. Unbelievable start to the year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'd probably venture to say if I had to do power rankings, I think that they're probably number one. The defense is really starting to fly around. And you know what? They lose players. They stockpile wins. It doesn't matter who's in there. Brady's leading the way. Fournette's having a great year. Brown is fantastic. He's looking like vintage AB. And Tampa gets to win 28-22 over Philadelphia on the road. A game in which I thought the Eagles were really overwhelmed with the Buccaneers. They were down by 14 at the half. They did make a strong second half push, but they just don't have enough to keep up with Tampa Bay. Tell you what, in London, I was quite stunned by this situation. The Jacksonville Jaguars got their first win of the year. I knew in my CBS Pick'em pool that I should have taken the Jags, though. I'm just stunned at the way it happened is basically what I'm getting at. Jacksonville wins it 23-20 with 13 points in the second half. And James Robinson, my guy on fantasy, was great again, 73 yards and a touchdown and 17 carries. Miami is really awful, and I think they've got to be right in there right now. Tua comes back, plays horrible. Just doesn't seem to really be the guy. Had to throw it 47 times for 329 yards. If you think that's good, you live on a different planet. In today's day and age in the NFL, with how easy it is to throw and play quarterback and get yards, you throw it 47 times, you best be getting well over 400 yards, let's be honest. But the Jaguars hung in there, and they made some plays in the end, so kudos to the Jags. They're 1-5, and now the Dolphins are 1-5. You got to put them and the Cleveland Browns and maybe a couple others in there as the most disappointing teams in football so far this year. Green Bay, I own you. Aaron Rodgers owns the Chicago Bears without a doubt. 17-23, 195 and 2 touchdowns. Didn't really have to do much. Devontae Adams didn't have a 100-yard game, but did enough. Chicago's pretty banged up. Still no Montgomery. The Packers are 5-1, and I mentioned Tampa Bay. I'd probably put Green Bay right behind them as the second best team in the NFL. Bengals at Lions. Unbelievable job by Joe Burrow. Throws 3 touchdowns in this game. Unbelievably efficient. I know it's the Lions, but God, the Bengals, that offense is so freaking fun to watch. They are must-see TV. I can't turn my eyes away when they come up on the red zone. Joe Burrow, Mixon, Jamar Chase. That team is flying around, and they're 4-2. And I'm telling you right now, this Bengals team has got some oomph. And I think they're going to challenge for a wild card. I really do. They're 6 games in. I've seen enough. And Joe Burrow, is a phenomenon. Colts over the Texans, 31-3. Quick takeaways here, just the total control of the game by the Colts against a really, really bad team. And the knockout punch, they played physical football finally, and Jonathan Taylor's a monster. 145 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and 14 carries. Unbelievable day for JT. The Rams go on the road to the New York Football Giants, and the Giants are so pathetic. They're 1-5, no weapons, nothing. They can't make any plays. They can't get off the field on third down. They give up huge plays. Stafford and Henderson and Kupp, they ate them alive. Sean McVay wasn't, going into this game. I think he wasn't really himself. I don't think he has been since they've gotten rocked. By the Arizona Cardinals, but they're 5-1. That's a really good football team. I'd probably put them actually at number 3 in all of football. I think the 3 best teams are actually in the NFC. We'll get to my other couple of top clubs in a little bit here, but just a roll job by the Rams, 38-11. The Giants are going nowhere fast. The Chiefs beat the Washington football team 31-13. Man, this game was a 13-10 lead at the half for Washington, but then the Chiefs scored 21 unanswered, and I'm not going to lie, this seemed like vintage Chiefs to me in the second half. Like they just instantly were like, okay, let's flip the switch on. Like we saw a couple years ago when they won through the Super Bowl, right? The victories in the playoffs. Down double digits against the Texans, no problem. Down double digits to the Titans, no problem. They've been down before regular season games, a potpourri of times, no problem. And they just kept racking up the yards. A plethora of great plays from Patty Mahomes, 32 of 47 for 397 and 2 touchdowns. Williams was great on the ground. Kelsey spectacular through the air, catching the football. And oh, by the way, I know that Justin Herbert's the fancy new toy, but Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL, and he proved that again on Sunday. The Chiefs now back up to 3-3. Washington falls to 2-4. Vikings 34-28 winners over the Panthers. An entertaining game, overtime, touchdown late. Cousins has been playing great football, and that's why Minnesota is 3-3. That's it. If he wasn't playing this good, I think they could be 0-6. I really do. And they have a 3-pronged attack right now, like many others in football. It's Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, and then Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen. In this game, Adam Thielen was the high man with 126 yards and a touchdown. Cousins shared the ball all over the place. Jefferson still had 8 for 80. But it's usually Jefferson as the number 1 wideout and in that 3-pronged attack. But they also have Thielen, who has the ability to do that as well. They have 2 options of guys who have number 1 ability. I don't think Thielen is a number 1, but I think 5, 6, 7, maybe even half the season, 8 games, 9 games, he has the potential to be a number 1 on any given Sunday. Terrific stuff there. Sam Darnold has really cooled off. Carolina's starting to get really beat up at the line of scrimmage. They're making bonehead plays. Matt Rule's got to clean up a lot of it right now. They're just not buttoned up. Give the Vikings credit here for winning this game 34-28 on the road, hanging in there. 3-3 are the Vikings and the Panthers. Ravens stomped the Chargers in the most dominating game of the weekend. Just a phenomenal effort from the Ravens defense. They made Justin Herbert look human, and Lamar Jackson continued to be Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews was great. Devontae Freeman on the ground gave them just enough. Lamar was he had two interceptions. But he still obviously made his plays where he needed to. This was a big-time game defensively for the Ravens. This reminded me, this defense, of Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Sam Adams, and those monsters up front, Siragusa and company. This defense was pounding on the Chargers from the get-go. And, I was wrong on this pick. I waffled for a little bit. I said this is a game the Chargers usually lose. They're going across the country, but Phillip Rivers isn't their quarterback, and they're a different team. Woo, I was wrong. Ravens 34-6. They are 5-1. They lead the AFC. Chargers are 4-2. I think I would venture to put the Ravens probably in there at number 4. The Cardinals are 6-0 after they wiped the field with the Browns 37-14. Too hard of a game for Cleveland to win without Nick Chubb. I'm sorry. Baker Mayfield has to have a major ground game in order to then create those play calls of Kevin Stefanski to go outside and around the pocket, hit people short and all the rest. But if you don't have Chubb in there, they're coming for you, and they're making Baker throw off his back foot. They're making him throw wildly into space. He's got a torn labrum situation. He does, I guess he's going to play this week. But, just not enough there from a ground game standpoint for Cleveland. And, the Cardinals' offense is unstoppable right now. Kyler Murray, an MVP candidate. I don't have the Cardinals in my top 5, even though they're 6-0, and they probably deserve the right to be, somewhere way up there. I don't have them at 6-0 because I don't trust them yet. I got to see another 4 or 5 weeks. If they're like 10-1, then I'll be probably buying stock into the Cardinals. Cardinals 6-0, Browns 3-3. Raiders beat the Broncos 34-24. A really solid, good win for the Raiders coming off of the John Gruden, resignation, which would have been a firing. Raiders 4-2, Broncos 3-3. Josh Jacobs ran for a touchdown, and Derek Carr was spectacular. He's also in the MVP consideration talk as well. Cowboys beat the Patriots 35-29. Won this game in overtime. This was an unbelievable game. I mean, back and forth. The Patriots got that 75-yard touchdown to answer, and the Cowboys forced them to go into overtime. Dak Prescott, also an MVP candidate. And I know there's some Cowboys fans out there who have followed me for a little while, and they're going to crush me for this comment too, but I don't have them in the top 5. And the reason is I need a bigger sample size out of this Dallas Cowboy bunch. Every single year, it's the same shit with this team. Hype, expectations, great talent, blah, blah, blah. Let's see this over the course of 10, 11, 12 games. If they have lost just a few into that area, I might buy into them, okay? But I need to see more out of Dallas. We know that they usually take a complete and utter nosedive, but you have to be impressed with the playmakers that they have. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb leading the way. This offense right now is a juggernaut. Cowboys 5-1 now. Patriots are 2-4. By the way, the Patriots, remember when they were completely and utterly dominant at home with Tom Brady? They used to go 8-0 in the regular season all the time and get that home field advantage and steamroll through the postseason. They're 0-4 at home. That's not having Tom Brady. That's all there is to it. And they probably aren't cheating anymore, right? Steelers 23-20 over the Seahawks. Physical football game. No Russell Wilson in this game. The Steelers were extremely vulnerable, but there was no Russell Wilson. If they had Wilson, I think they would have won this game. Steelers win by a field goal. Big Ben was okay. No offensive player on either side really, to me, showed a ton. But I thought it was still nonetheless, a game that the Steelers had to have to keep their playoff hopes going. Both teams now here just are not right now. They don't look like playoff teams to me. Russell Wilson will be out for a couple more weeks, I think, with a broken finger. The Steelers are 3-3, and the Seahawks are 2-4. The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by Liverpool Physical Therapy, Sit Means Sit Syracuse, and our good friends over at Stanley Law Offices. Together, they'll work to get you the maximum award. Log on to StanleyLawOffices.com. I also want to point out our good friend Heather Saxton, who is in the real estate market. She is a certified licensed real estate salesperson. Heather at Hunt on Facebook. She makes home more than a place. She makes it a feeling. Call her today in and around Central New York, the great state of New York. You're selling a home. You're buying a home. It is a headache, stressful, time-consuming. Call Heather today at 315-727-3313. That's 315-727-3313. Well, as I mentioned, I did a Titans-Bills recap from Monday Night Football and the Bills Brawl. Here is that episode, but first, this.
You're listening to a Brawl Network production. This is a podcast for the best fans in the NFL.
Are you in the Mafia?
Am I in the what?
It's time for a Bills Brawl podcast.
2nd down and 7. Kelly with the time. Touchdown! Bill Brooks.
Allen. Deep shot. Touchdown! On the line to Stephon Diggs.
And Thurman breaking tackles at the 22. Inside the 10. Touchdown Buffalo.
It is indeed another edition of the Bills Brawl. I'm Mike Lindsley, your host. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. Full reaction to the Bills' loss against Tennessee. What a great game. We'll get into it in full here on this episode. So I think what I'm going to do in this episode is basically start from, the end of the game, and then kind of work backwards, because obviously the big topic of conversation is, the Bills going for it on fourth down. First of all, it's the NFL. There's nothing more overreactionary than the NFL. Everybody's an expert. Everybody thinks they know more than the coaches. Everybody thinks, and I break down things and guess and predict just like the rest of them. But the fan takes it to a whole other level. And obviously I know that fan is short for fanatic, so I get that. But like all my buddies do it. Fans on social media they're tiring. And if Allen had made the first down, because they could have gotten a first down without getting a touchdown, if he had gotten the first down and then they'd gone in the end zone, this morning it's the guts of Sean McDermott. What a great play call from the people who disagreed with the call and disagreed with going for it. They would come back this morning if they scored and praised how the Bills are the best team in the league. They went on the road again and beat the Titans. Sean McDermott's got stones. Josh Allen's the MVP of the league. And instead, those people are kind of going the other way, and they're like, "Oh, they should have taken the points. What are you doing? Da da da." And by the way, if you don't take the points and you go for it, then give me a better play call. Okay, folks, what better play call is there than having your 6'4", 240-pound quarterback go forward for 8 inches? Do you want a 3-receiver set and let guys run around in the end zone with a chance that a ball could get thrown and deflected? Do you want a shotgun quarterback draw where you're already starting 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage? Do you want to hand the ball off to one of your running backs who it's never a guarantee what the hell those two guys are going to do? I mean, I appreciate and enjoy the growth of Zach Moss and certainly Singletary, but those guys aren't difference makers. And last, night they tried to, as I record this, they tried to, run the ball with those guys over and over again to the tune of 13 total carries. Those guys only picked up 51 yards. Josh Allen had 26 yards himself. He was second in rushing in this game for the Buffalo Bills. What I'm getting at is that Josh Allen is 6'4" and 240 pounds. I'm all in on quarterback sneaks when it's fourth and short. There is no better play call when you have a quarterback of that size and that strength. And he went a little to the left there, but if you look at pre-snap, it looked like the Bills were going to get it easily. At least I thought so. The positioning and all the rest. Deion Dawkins also got pushed off of his block just a little bit, but that wasn't the main reason, in my opinion, why Allen didn't get it. Allen slipped. I mean, look at it. He starts to move. At first, the initial burst, I'm like, oh, he's going to get it easily. And then he slipped and then fell straight down. If he doesn't fall down, even though Deion Dawkins got taken out to a degree, I still think Josh Allen's momentum and Josh Allen's strength gets him to the first down. I do. I had no problem going for the fourth down and the victory. You're on the road. Do you really want to take your chances in overtime on the road? Don't all the experts always say, don't go for the tie and go into OT on the road, right? The Bills had no answer for Derrick Henry. The Bills' defense was getting sliced and diced in the fourth quarter by Ryan Tannehill. They had no answer for the Titans' offensive line. The Bills' defensive line was super, super weak in this game. All of the things pointed against Buffalo in overtime. And the Bills had just driven all the way down the field, mind you, after a holding penalty took away an Isaiah McKenzie kick return. So the Bills showed stones by driving down and scoring, or almost scoring, after that holding penalty. And they were dominating the Titans in that specific drive to the tune of 8 plays. Actually, well, I don't know. I got to find the play-by-play here. But I was thinking it was 8 plays I had it written down. Trying to find, let me go to the Bills. It was 8 plays, 79 yards and 244. I just wanted to double check on that. The play before the 4th down, Josh Allen, he ran it to the left side, and he, got stopped just short of the marker. It was a play in which nobody was open. The Titans had it defensed, and Allen, in typical Allen form, tried to jump over people to get the first down. It was an unbelievable effort. I was okay with that call 10 times out of 10. It's easy for people to say, you should have taken the points. You should have done this. You should have had a better play call. Well, guess what? There's another number, and I'm not saying that you have to look towards numbers and analytics and all that nonsense, for everything. It's not what I'm saying. But there was a stat that I'm sure the Bills looked at, and they had every right to go for it based on this stat. And here it is. Okay? Allen had been 13 for 14 on 4th and 1 or less run plays in his career going into the Titans game. The only time he didn't convert before was on a botched snap. Again, 6'4", 240 pounds, you need 8 inches. Let's not get carried away here. I witnessed on Friday the complete opposite decision by Dino Babers. Now, I realize that both teams lost the game, but it was totally different circumstances. Dino Babers had all the information in front of him. Andre Schmidt after 40, longer than 40 is a disaster. Dino Babers mismanaged the clock. Sean McDermott did not. Totally different circumstances. You have Josh Allen in this situation. Similarly, you do have Garrett Schrader, who's kind of like a bigger guy. And you also have one of the best backs in the country in Sean Tucker. You need a yard, sneak the ball up the middle, call timeout, take a couple shots towards the end zone or close to, and you try to go win the game if you're Syracuse. If you can't get in the end zone, you get 15, 20 minutes closer, okay. 15, 20 yards closer, okay, then you kick the field goal and you go into overtime and you're at home and take your chances, right? Totally different circumstances. The Bills were a couple of yards away from going 5-1. They were 8 inches away from going 5-1. I think it was about 8-10 inches. The spot looked a little funny to me. I couldn't tell it first. Like when he went out on that 3rd down play, I was like, oh my God, Allen only needs like 2-3 inches. And then they put the ball behind a little bit where I thought it was going to be. Maybe 8-10. It was no more than a yard clearly, but it looked like 8 or 10 inches to me. And again, I'm going with my quarterback. It shows amazing confidence in the players by Sean McDermott. This is a team that has stones. This is a team that is in the conversation to contend for the Super Bowl. This is a team that has an elite quarterback. This is a team that has playmakers across the field, everywhere. Diggs, Sanders, Beasley. They have dominated teams the last several weeks. The defense has come on. The offense is usually unstoppable. For the majority of it last night, the Bills showed that they were unstoppable. In fact, I was sitting there saying to myself, geez, the Bills, had a huge turnover and gave up a mega long play by Derrick Henry, and we'll get into him in a minute. But, at the half, the Bills were still up 20-17. And I'm going, this is a win. This is a win. Now, they get the ball back, kind of went back and forth. Nothing was going on. And then Tyler Bass hits a 52-yard field goal. Bills are up 23-17. Titans march right down the field for a touchdown. 4:23 left, a long drive, a 6:26 drive over 67 yards and 12 plays. Henry caps it with a touchdown. They take the lead. But then the Bills' offense comes right back in under 4 minutes, 75-yard drive, 9 plays, and Tommy Sweeney, of all people, catches a touchdown pass to retake the lead 31-24. Titans get the ball back in the fourth. They kick a field goal with 9:45 to play. Bills are still in the driver's seat. They just can't get anything going. They can't take it down again. Da-da-da-da-da. And then Derrick Henry scores again, 13-yard touchdown run. And you could just feel the momentum swinging right there. But at that moment, with 3:05 left to go, I said, perfect. I did. I said, this is excellent. The Bills, I believe, had all their timeouts left. McDermott and the coaching staff, Frazier, Dable, etc., they had utilized their timeouts and the clock management perfectly up till that point. And you have Josh Allen, who did it time and time again last year, and you have the utmost confidence in the world in all of your playmakers, utmost confidence in the world. You had the 2-minute warning coming up. Everything was in your favor to go drive down the field and win the game or tie the game. You know, if the Bills were like at the 15-20 and they didn't have any timeouts after driving down, and, you know, they probably would have taken 1 or 2 shots to the end zone. If they didn't get it, they kicked the field goal. But they weren't in that spot. They were down to a couple of yards to go, you know, to get in the end zone. And I was all good with it. In fact, I usually stay off Twitter for the duration of games, but I had to, I had to lose my mind over that 2-point conversion, which was just an absurd play call with the reverse play, and then Knox throws the ball to Allen for a 2-point conversion. It was just spectacular. 31-24. I hopped on and said, I had something like OMG, what a play, whatever. You know, and then Tennessee gets a field goal and a touchdown, and I thought right then and there, off we go. You know, 34-31. I'm like, perfect. The Bills, and I tweeted at some people about this, and I said, no. You know, don't worry about what the Titans just did and play calling beforehand and all the rest. If you're playing and you're on the road and you have the utmost confidence in Josh Allen, you want to be in that spot. You want the ball last. Even if you're down, you want the ball last with a chance to win. And the Bills did have that situation. And they marched all the way down the field, and they just didn't convert a 4th down. I would have done that play 10 times out of 10. I would have called to go for it 10 times out of 10. The only way maybe I say no to it is if the Titan offense isn't manhandling the Bills as much, you know, especially up front with the offensive line. Tannehill was working off the play action. The bottom line was they weren't able to stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was the whole key to this football game. The Bills have had success with him in the past, not so much on Monday Night Football. They started strong. The Bills started to bottle guys up. Tremaine Edmonds, the line, they were terrific. Trey White was coming in making plays. The secondary was active. And then he burst for 76 yards. And then he, kept getting carry after carry after carry. And he scored 3 total touchdowns. He had 20 carries. He was not worked like a workhorse. He had only 20 carries. It wasn't like he had 25, 30, 35. This was not a Jim Brown, Paul Hornung, and Jim Taylor or Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders type game here. This was 20 carries, and he had 143 yards, averaged 7.2 a carry and 3 touchdowns. He's the best running back in football, and it really isn't close. It's just not. I respect David Montgomery when he's healthy. I respect a ton of running backs. Derrick Henry is by far the best back, and he's setting records. He's changing the game the way he runs in this modern pass, crazy motion, RPO world that we live in, the 11 personnel, 12 personnel that we live in with bombing the ball all the time and throwing it 80% of the time and on it goes. Derrick Henry is saying, yeah, good for you. I'm just going to go run for 2,000 yards in a pass-happy league. I mean, this guy is a beast, and the Bills couldn't stop him. That's really where the game was won and lost. It's that simple. And much to the chagrin of everybody out there who thinks, and you know who you are, some of my tightest buddies, I had Derrick Henry on my fantasy team this past week, And in classic fashion, we're all Bills fans in the fantasy league. And for some reason or another, we're all supposed to pick the Bills in the CBS Pick'em, and we're all supposed to bench players when you play against the Bills. I didn't bench Henry because I had no other option. If I had had a solid running back elsewhere, maybe I would have thought about it, because I did like the Bills matchup going into this game, much like I liked the Ruggs matchup against Denver, and that's why I sat Cole Beasley going into Monday Night Football. Clearly, I was wrong. Beasley had a great game. Beasley was active. Beasley, caught a touchdown pass. He had 88 yards on 7 catches, an average of 12.6. Ruggs scored on the first drive against Denver, and it looked like he was going to be able to expose them and do everything possible, and then he just stopped getting targeted. That's football, that's fantasy. But to think that I want my fantasy team to win and Derrick Henry to succeed in getting to that end result more than I want a Bills win, you're just simply clueless. The bottom line is the Bills couldn't stop Henry, and it came back to bite him. And I give Tennessee a lot of credit from this standpoint. They made a ton of defensive adjustments in order to slow down the Buffalo Bills offense in the second half. The Bills put up 20 points in the first half. They only put up 11 in the second half. That touchdown and the 2-point conversion were obviously 9 points of that. But this was a game where the Bills they really needed to stop Henry. I mean, that's really all there is to it. 8 points of that, because 6 and 2 equals 8, not 9. And then the field goal, obviously, to make it 11 points scored in the second half. But if you think about it, the Bills' offense was contained all the way until that last drive of the third quarter. They were contained in the fourth quarter all the way to the end until that last drive when they went for it on fourth down. It's just, that's football. Tennessee made adjustments. Tennessee was also missing guys on both sides of the ball. The Bills were a relatively healthy squad. Okay? Where was Matt Milano? Matt Milano played in this game, was nowhere to be found. Did not do anything against the run game. Was he healthy all the way? I don't know, but he wasn't a factor. He had 2 total tackles. He was exposed. Where when Henry made that long run, they handed the ball to the right. Milano got shielded off. He kind of came up to the line a little bit. Henry makes one cut and he's gone. If Milano stays at home, maybe he makes a play or at least bumps Henry to slow him down, and it's not a 76-yard carry. He was very disappointing. Harrison Phillips was okay. I thought Tremaine Edmonds was outstanding. Taron Johnson was outstanding. Jordan Poyer had the pick, and he was outstanding all over the field. Micah Hyde, they didn't let deep balls go, but they were able to pick, they being the Titans, were able to pick the Bills apart in terms of the middle of the field. And I look at this situation with the secondary of the Bills. It's a very dangerous thing if a team is able to run the ball just even average. In this case, the Titans ran it from a superior standpoint. But if you can run it just a little bit, this defense can get moved and shifted all over the place off play action, off rollouts. I did not like what I saw, in that second half out of the Bills defense. This is a defense that had come in, they were taking the ball away, they were exposing offenses, whether it be Mahomes or a backup quarterback, schedule be damned, critics be damned, the Bills were dominating going in. Period, end of discussion. And for the defense to kind of get manhandled like that a little bit at the line, oh, by the way, Tennessee, part of their injuries on both sides of the ball, Taylor Lewan went out. That was a huge loss. It appears it's probably a concussion situation. The Bills' defense was not good. They just didn't show up. And you can second guess the moves all day that McDermott made, benching A.J. Epinesa and going with, because A.J. Epinesa is better against the pass, get after, the quarterback, etc., isn't as stout against the run. So you bench him, and you've got Harrison Phillips in there who's a better run defender. F.A. Obata got in there a little bit. Okay, well, it didn't pay off, clearly. Phillips was hit and miss. Obata was hit and miss. Obata's more of an edge rusher anyway. But those were some of the moves, and they backfired. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. However you shake it down, this whole game came down to going for it on fourth down. That decision, trying to win it a couple yards out of the end zone. And I thought the Bills were very, very ballsy in a good way in going for it. And I would have done it 100 times out of 100, and I would have sent Allen right up the chute every single time as well. Maybe he should have gone straight forward. Maybe he should have gone straight up and over and just put the nose of the ball over and you get the first down there. I don't know. But it looked like pre-snap he was going to get it. He slipped. Deion Dawkins was pushed off his block a little bit. And, that happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Quick look at the box score here, and then I'll wrap up with one other thought as the Bills head into the bye week, which I don't like this early, by the way, especially for a roster that's relatively healthy. I'd rather have it in a couple weeks down the line, but, well, that's how it goes. Josh Allen, 35 of 47, 353 yards, 7.5 average, 3 touchdowns. Did throw a really bad pick. Didn't see the pressure coming from the right side. Had a 59.9 QBR and a 107.8 rating. I mentioned Singletary and Moss. 5 carries, 27 for Singletary, 8 and 24 for Moss. Allen had 9 and 26. Isaiah McKenzie with 1 and 5. The Buffalo receiving, Emmanuel Sanders, nice game, 5 catches, 91 yards. Diggs went for 9 and 89 and a touchdown. Cole Beasley went for 7 and 88 and 1 touchdown. Gabe Davis, 2 for 25. Knox, 3 for 25. Singletary, 5 for 16. Zach Moss, 2 for 15. McKenzie, 1 for 3. Tommy Sweeney, 1 for 1. That touchdown, of course, on his end. Defensively, Tremaine Edmonds, fantastic. Tremaine the terrific, right? 10 total tackles, 8 solo. 1 tackle for a loss. Taron Johnson went 6 for 4. Poyer 4 and 3, and then of course 1 interception. Micah Hyde 3 and 3. Jake Kumaro got in the act 3 and 3. Levi Wallace 3 and 3, but he got kind of exposed in this game, and that's a continued. I think Levi Wallace has played fine up until that point last night, but he boy, I'll tell you, he has some real trouble with physical number 2 guys. I mean, he physical wide receivers, big, strong, possession type guys, body off. He just cannot handle those guys, can't cover him, and he got nailed last night on several occasions. And then like I said, Obata, Phillips, Russo, a couple tackles here and there for all these guys. They were all right. Tyler Matakevich was solid. Milano was absent. Justin Zimmer was okay. Mario Addison, not good. A.J. Klein, where was he? So a lot left on the table for the Bills in terms of their defensive performance. Ryan Tannehill went 18 of 29 for 216, had 1 interception, no touchdowns. Didn't play great, didn't play awful. Played better as the game went on, but again, a lot of that had to do with the best running back in football. 20 carries, 143 yards, and 3 touchdowns, an average of 7.2 for Derrick Henry. Receiver-wise, A.J. Brown, he was battling the food poisoning, of course. You had to hear about that 400 times on the broadcast. 7 catches for 91 yards. Julio Jones, 3 for 59. Nick Westbrook, 3 for 27. I don't even know how to pronounce Westbrook Ikine. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Westbrook, and then whatever it is. Henry, 2 for 13. Ferkster, I thought, was going to be a bigger X factor at tight end. He was not. He had that 1 catch, I think, for a first down early. That was a brutal defensive effort by the Bills. It was 3rd and long early in the game, and the Bills gave it up to Ferkster, and I'm going, what the hell? And then from there, they shut him down. It was one of those plays where Tannehill, the pocket was kind of collapsing, and he was panicking, and he flipped it to him. Really, really pissed me off. Swain went 1 catch for 8 yards. Rodgers 1 for 7. Tennessee defense, can't say enough about David Long Jr., who was absolutely fantastic in this game, although he should have been kicked out of the game, if you ask me. The linebacker wearing number 51, he did get a penalty for hunting Josh Allen's head when he was kind of just a selfless player in the pocket, and he was going to go down anyway. The whistles were coming, and Long just went in and blasted helmet to helmet on Allen, and that should have been a complete and utter ejection. There's no other way to say it. I don't care if it's the Bills. I don't care if it's somebody else. That's an uncalled for and he should have been gone. But while he was in there, he was a performer. Amani Hooker, 9 total tackles for 6 were solo. Molden, 9 for 6, 9 and 6. Landry the third, 8 and 5. Evans, 7 and 4. Chris Jackson, 5 and 5, and on down the list for the Tennessee Titans. Those were some of the high marks for them defensively. Final thoughts: Buffalo Bills still in fine shape. They're in a great spot. They're 4-2. If they had won that game and they were 5-1, it would be them and the Ravens at the top. Obviously, now it gets a little bit more interesting because Buffalo, you got Kansas City now 3-3. You got the Chargers at 4-2. You got to deal with, the Pittsburgh Steelers are hanging around even, and they beat you in week 1. So there are some things to pay attention to here in terms of the AFC picture. The Bills could have really taken another step forward in trying to get that 1 seed. However, they're 4-2. They have a bye week. This loss is going to stew in them for 2 weeks. I think they're going to come out hungry and obliterate Miami. They'll go to Jacksonville. I think they win that game, and then I think they win on the road against the Jets close. And I think the Bills are 7-2, and then I think they come home and beat the Colts. I think they're 8-2 going into the New Orleans Saints game on the road. I don't think a couple of those games will be easy because I think the Colts will be improved by then. The physicality has been lost there, but Carson Wentz has actually been playing pretty solid football. If you're 8-2, you go into that Saints game, that's a winnable game too. Hell, you could even reel off a bunch of wins here in a row, as Josh Allen would say, stacking wins. Then you got New England, you got at Tampa, you got Carolina at home, you got at New England, you've got Atlanta at home, and then the Jets at home. This Bills schedule, really the only team that you look at and go, I might not pick the Bills, is at Tampa Bay. The Bills are still in amazing shape. They've played 6 games. They have 11 left. I mean, I think if you can go, I think they probably could be able to go 9-2 here, right? They could go 9-2. 9-2 would put you at a 13-4 mark. If they somehow went 10-1, I got to believe that's good enough for the home field. And plus, let's not really kid ourselves here. Everybody else is going to have a game like the Bills just had. They are. They're going to lose a game. Something will happen. There's an injury. Somebody goes for it late in the game. They don't get it. The Bengals are 4-2. I think they'll tail off a little bit. But the AFC playoff picture, the Bills at 5-1 today, does it look a lot different? Boy, it sure does. Because then it's them and the Ravens, and then 4-2 teams, Bengals, Titans. Actually, the Titans would have been 3-3. So that's a big swing game there. Record-wise, the Bills would have been way ahead of Tennessee for home field. Chargers 4-2, Vegas 4-2. So it is a different look. 4-2, 5-1. When you look at those standings, the Bills, good grief, they would have been, they would have been a couple ahead of the Titans. They would have been one ahead of several teams, Ravens and the Bills at the top of the division. But as it turns out, they lose. We'll see how this AFC playoff picture comes into shape. But teams are going to lose in the NFL. Some things are going to work out, some aren't. The Ravens have got the Bengals. The Ravens have the Vikings, a team that's playing well in the next 2. They go at Miami, at Chicago, Cleveland at home, at Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, Green Bay at home, at Cincy, Chargers, Rams, Pittsburgh. So the Ravens schedule, they've got some bumps in the road too. So we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, the Bills, it was a great game, amazing Monday Night Football game. Terrific stones, and good for you, Sean McDermott, for going for it on 4th down. Bills fans, enjoy your bye week. Next week will probably just be a preview for the next game against the Dolphins at home. That is a Halloween Sunday. I'm Mike Lindsley. You've been listening to Bills Brawl. Hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.